So I was recently asked an interesting question in the YouTube comments, and that was, how do I study when I've got a broken heart? And this got me thinking that there are lots of life circumstances and events that can mean that you find it extra difficult to focus, and basic advice like making learning and studying a habit probably isn't actually going to be that helpful. In fact, I've encountered a similar problem recently, as I've just got a brand new puppy called Basil. And I also got asked to do a TED talk at short notice. And juggling both of these things was really distracting alongside my day job. So, in today's video, I'm going to dive deep into how to stay laser focused on learning when life events, like having a little puppy, get in the way. So if you're struggling to stay productive while studying for an exam, or maybe you're distracted by something right now and don't feel like working or learning, do hit that subscribe button, as this video is going to be for you. I'm going to hit on 5 evidence-based tips to help you beat any distractions and get your work done. And I've also got a bonus tip at the end, so be sure to stick around. So tip number 1 is to hold yourself accountable and focus on what you can do to control things. If you split up with a partner, had some bad news, or have just bought a super cute puppy, it can be really difficult to focus on learning or studying or working. Many of these life events are out of your control, but your brain overthinks and causes distractions as it perceives those things to be important due to their emotional impact. To try and overcome this, it's really important to try and focus on the things that you can control and to become aware of distracting thoughts entering your brain. If you've recently broken up with someone, for example, you'll naturally overthink and dwell on negative thoughts and ideas which are likely outside of your control. But what can you actually control in this situation? Well, rather than focusing your energy thinking about whatever's happened, you can catch yourself and remind yourself that this isn't actually going to help you, and your energy is better directed towards other things that you can control, such as studying for that test or exam. If you've experienced a powerful emotion like anger from an argument, for example, you can even redirect that energy and think, I'm going to show that person who's boss by doing my best in this exam. In my case, when I got a new puppy who needed attention and to be taken outside every hour or so, rather than getting annoyed about this, I accepted that I couldn't control a puppy's bladder and instead focused on writing my TED talk between puppy breaks and practicing it when I took Basil outside. I also held myself accountable to try and give the best possible talk, and remembered that giving a TED talk was a huge opportunity and that lots of people were coming to hear me talk, so I put leverage on myself to help me focus even when I was tired and wanted to go and just play on my Nintendo Switch with Basil chilling right next to me. Tip number 2 follows on from tip number 1 and might sound obvious, but it's to remember that multitasking just doesn't work. If you need to study for an exam or get that work project completed, thinking or worrying about anything else is going to really distract you. Studies show that when our brain is constantly switching gears to bounce back and forth between tasks, especially when those tasks are complex and require our active attention, we become less efficient and more likely to make mistakes. This might not be as apparent or impactful when we're doing tasks that are simple and routine, like listening to music while walking or folding laundry while watching TV. But when the stakes are higher and the tasks are more complex, trying to multitask can negatively impact our lives and lead to poor study and exam scores. Multitasking just divides our attention. And as we know, the first step in learning anything and to get new information into our working memory is that we need to pay attention and focus on it. For example, in a 2001 study published in Frontier Psychology, attempting to complete additional tasks during a driving simulation led to poorer driving performance. Another study by Stanford psychologists suggested that people who frequently media multitasked, like listening to music while checking emails or scrolling through social media while watching a movie, are more distracted and less able to focus their attention even when they're performing only one task. And the reason I'm reminding you of this in tip 2 is because it's so easy to think about other things or to get distracted, and we often forget that we can only really focus on one thing at a time. So if you're studying, choose one topic area to learn at a time and go over that in detail in a single session. Tip number 3 is therefore to set focused goals to help reduce doing too many things. I'll usually plan out my study and work sessions using a calendar or my diary, and each day I'll set a single daily goal or highlight that I want to achieve. If I'm studying for medical finals or a math test, I'll block out studying sessions of active recall questions around single topics, and will set myself a specific goal, such as doing a set number of recall questions on a topic or being able to explain a single topic in simple terms by the end of the session. Only once I've done this and feel I've mastered it, will I move on to something else. Now, if we look at the science behind setting goals, It's linked with higher motivation, self-esteem, self-confidence, and autonomy, as outlined by researchers Locke and Latham in 2006. And a 2015 study by psychologist Gail Matthews shows that when people wrote down their goals, they were 33% more successful in achieving them compared to those who formulated outcomes just in their heads. The goal-setting theory by Edwin Locke in 1968 answered all the seemingly important questions about the importance of goals for a successful life. Locke believed there were 5 key principles for goal setting. Firstly, clarity, or how specific and comprehensive the goal is. Secondly, challenge, or how difficult the goal is and the degree to which it requires us to extend our abilities. 3, commitment, which is how dedicated we are to reach that goal and what value it renders to us. 4, feedback, or how achievements are perceived and recognized by others. And 5, complexity, the difficulty of the tasks that we need to accomplish for reaching the ultimate goal. So when you're setting yourself a daily goal, or reminding yourself about your ultimate goal, or the reason you're studying or working at all, it's important to make sure your goal is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, also known as a SMART goal. And you should also be sure that you reward yourself for hitting your goals to help give you that dopamine hit and help you stay positive and enjoy the process of learning. Now, when life events take over and you have to study or work as well, it can be easy to forget to look after yourself. When I was first looking after Basil here, I had to take him out late at night and get up extra early. And if you're worrying about things, or you're looking after a new baby, or you're feeling unwell, your sleep and health can easily start to suffer. However, if you want to stay focused and learn effectively, it's vital you exercise, eat well, and get enough sleep. We all know regular exercise benefits the body and our brains. Short bursts of exercise are also helpful for cognition. Just 10 minutes of physical activity can boost attention and memory performance and make you feel healthier and more energized. Exercising plays a vital role in how our memory works and also has a reciprocal relationship with our sleep. A study done at the University of Georgia in 2008 found that young adults who did just 20 minutes of low-intensity exercise 3 times a week experienced both higher daily energy levels and much lower levels of fatigue. A meta-analysis looked at 21 studies on the effect of acute and long-term cardiovascular intervention on human memory, concluding that acute exercise improves memory in a time-dependent fashion by priming the molecular process involved in the encoding and consolidation of newly acquired information. And dozens of studies have confirmed that memory depends on sleep. And if you've ever got to bed late, you'll know that waking up to study when feeling tired is really difficult, and you often lose concentration and are just not that great at retaining information. To elaborate on how sleep helps with memory, let's look deeply at some of the research. In one seminal experiment published in Nature, participants were asked to complete the Tower of Hanoi task. Subjects attempted it once and then were retested, but in slightly different scenarios. When they were retested 1 week later with normal rest, they had a 40% improvement in their performance. But what was really interesting was that if you let them try the next day, but you messed with their REM sleep, no such improvement was seen, suggesting that sleep plays a powerful role in consolidating memories. So if you're skipping the gym or going to bed late, make these things a vital part of your day and your wind down routine, and your focus and test scores will likely improve. And this brings me to tip 5, which is to make sure that you make whatever you're studying or learning fun, interesting, and relevant to you. If you have some major distractions going on in your life, you want to make learning, studying, and working an actual helpful distraction from those events you're even dealing with. If the work you're doing is enjoyable or you find it genuinely interesting and rewarding, you'll be less likely to procrastinate, as it will no longer seem like hard work. We naturally don't want to do things that seem too hard or which seem less enjoyable than doing nothing. But if we rewire our brains to actually enjoy the work, this often helps us to focus and stay motivated. Now, while I'm a huge fan of giving yourself rewards and using game design to level up your learning by tracking your scores, or using learning systems like Duolingo or Chican that show you leaderboards, streaks, and points, you need to go a little deeper and build genuine interest in what you're learning. Now, this can be pretty tough for subjects and topics that you might not enjoy, but one hack here is to try and relate things to real-life applications of what you're learning and to things that you find enjoyable and actually interesting. For example, when I was writing and learning my TED Talk, I was genuinely interested in researching the topic and knew that giving the talk was going to be a privilege and a fun experience that not that many people get to do. Similarly, when I was studying surgery and learning things, I didn't necessarily enjoy things like embryology, but I found that actually relating the deeper genetic and developmental concepts to real-life diseases and concepts I knew was way more interesting. And if I then remembered why I wanted to be a doctor and how these things I was learning were going to help me, I started to actually enjoy learning embryology way more. And this brings me to a final bonus tip, which is a really important one. And this tip is to remember that as humans, we're easily distracted, and our phones and apps and pretty much everything in the digital world around us is designed to grab our short attention spans. While I've talked about switching off your phone and putting on lo-fi music while studying to get you into that flow state, it's also really important to look after yourself and take breaks where you don't feel guilty. If you're tired or you're dealing with something like a breakup or life event outside of your control, yes, you need to work and study, but it's fine to take breaks too. I'll often jump onto my PS5 or head out to the gym to make sure I'm relaxed and staying focused on things, and I'll also use these activities as a reward. But I'm also doing them intentionally, and I'm not feeling guilty that I'm not working while I'm actually relaxing. And this comes back to studying smarter, not harder. If you're struggling with distractions, putting pressure on yourself to spend hours and hours in the library is really counterproductive. When I'm studying, I'll optimize for efficiency, and will study only the most high yield and useful topics with a focus on good encoding and lots of active recall as evidence-based study techniques that save me time. I'm not going to try and cram in too much, and I'm not going to rote learn an entire textbook. When I was writing and learning my TED Talk, I didn't try and perfect things, and I used mnemonics like telling stories from my own experience to illustrate points rather than trying to completely memorize every single word. And this is why I was able to learn it in such a short space of time while looking after a little puppy. Now, I'm going to be diving into the process I used to learn that TED Talk in a future video, so do hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see how I did it, and obviously more of little Basil here. I hope you found this video helpful, especially if you're getting distracted while studying or working right now. I'll put up some similar videos on how to study and avoid burnout in the end cards up here, and do let me know if there's anything you struggle with, whether it's setting goals, staying productive, or whatever it is in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next video, maybe with a puppy, or maybe not.